Okay, Mr. Nash, this was your motion. Why don't you go ahead and tell the court what you're asking for and why?
Yes, ma'am. Well, on October 6th, when I filed the motion, I have been contacted by the school on multiple occasions in regards to Brian and Nathan not attending school, period. At this point, they have not attended since the second week of school. At that date, I did supply current, up-to-date attendance records. I did bring up to today's date of attendance records with me as well. They still have not attended school. I've made multiple attempts prior to contacting the court. Last year, I was at the end of the year when I was contacted by the school, I was leaving work every day. When I got phone calls that they weren't there to go get them up at her home and get them to school. And then we had made an agreement over the summertime that they would stay with me because they refused to go to school for her. And I would make sure they got to school and then they could go to her home after school until it was time to come in for the night. Day before school commenced, it was, she backed away from the agreement. She said they had been behaving better. They would go from there. So I do have a current order in place, so I have to oblige. They did go for the first two and a half weeks of school, and then it ceased. I again made multiple attempts to make contact, failed attempts on that point. The school made multiple attempts to make contact with failed attempts. I did approach her. I went to go check on them because I hadn't been able to make contact for over 2 weeks. So I went to her home on my lunch break. She was pulling out the driveway. I asked what was going on with them. She, at that point, informed me that they were enrolled into an online school, which I knew was untrue, based on their enrollment in Madison High School. And towards the end of the conversation, she said, I'm not going to argue about it, just mind your business. So at that point, I proceeded with the court process and with truancy. I have notes from Chris Howard here, truancy officer. We scheduled an initial hearing on the 10th of last month at the school to meet, discuss a plan of action to get the children back into school. She failed to respond at that point. He was at that point requesting charges to the prosecuting office. She then did make contact with the school and Chris Howard. We had a meeting. Not exactly sure the date. It was a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago at the school. At that point, she agreed to try anything to get the children to go to school. And she was supposed to have Mr. Howard meet with the children that afternoon. Since then, communication has ceased. Mr. Howard has not been able to reach her. He's left multiple voicemails. He's went to her home on more than two occasions. Still to this day, nothing. I don't know what else I can do. I can't leave work every day to go get these boys up from her home to get them to school. I'm capable of making them go to school. She has expressed vividly that she is not capable of making them go to school. She tries. She admitted to the school that they go to work instead. They're 15, 16 years old. They're freshmen in high school. They need to go to school. Everything is less important in school. They need to complete school. So I asked the court to grant my motion for exclusive parenting time. I've got the notes from Mr. Howard that says, there's still a chance. Obviously, trimester one's a wash at this point this year. But if they were to make it there, they can still do the exams and at least get credit for that and move forward with school and a plan of action of graduating. So I do have updated attendance records, which I still have not. As of this morning, Nathan's missed 142 classes this year. And Brian has missed 142 classes this year. That's 2,700 excused absences for the year. And Nathan has missed 187 classes this year. They would like to attend school online. I have denied that because of the fact that they can't seem to make it to school or be awake for school and do school while they're enrolled in an actual school. There's no way they're going to do that on their own at home with no one to make them. So I just asked the courts to please at this point, let them reside with me during the week and go to school. They can still ride the bus to their mother's home after school. As long as they're home in the evening when it's time to go to bed for school the next day and they're in school, I have no problems with that. If they begin to not attend school or leave school or skip school when I drop them up at school, then I will not be okay with them still continuing to go to their mother's home. We do live within a mile of each other. This will not change their place of school. I mean, I do live in Adrian. She lives in Madison technically, but I would still be able to drop them to school daily. I don't know what else I can do at this point from the outside of the home to enforce them going to school, other than to bring them into my care where I know I can make them go to school.
What is the current parenting time arrangement?
The current parenting time arrangement is she has sole physical custody. We have joint legal custody, have visitation. I'm supposed to have visitations every other weekend. I have not received one in over a year. I do see them, out and about in the streets. I pay for their phones, things of that nature, but I don't get parenting time at this time. I've asked for it. They don't want to, or they're busy, they're not home, or at this point, I've stopped asking for it because they are 15 and 16 and they just don't come, and she's admittedly said that she can't enforce them to do anything.
So when is the last time they stayed with you?
When was the last time they stayed the night with me? Was the weekend prior to the last school year. It was the last time I had an overnight visitation. I have seen them, visited with them, picked them up, things of that nature, but I have not had an overnight visit with them since the beginning of last school year. And I would like to make note to the court, I do not blame her entirely. She is their mother, but they are also old enough to get themselves up and go to school like responsible young men, but they don't. And at that point, that's when a parent needs to step in and enforce the regulations, not just go along with whatever the children want to do.
What is your work schedule?
Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Their school bus normally picks them up at their home at like 7:05 a.m. I could have them to school before I'm due to be at work. I work at Cliffview GMC, which is a half a mile from their school, directly in the center of their school and my home.
Okay, Ms. Koon, I look forward to your response.
Okay, well, first off, I'd like to see about during appealing this or filing a motion to appeal it. I'd like my boys to come in and speak for themselves as well. But to go ahead and in response to what Justin is saying as far as him wanting custody of them during the school year and back enrolled in Madison, the reason why I asked for help with Justin was because of the issues I was having with both my boys. And so I did reach out to him after 3 years. He hasn't had the kids overnight in almost 3 years. And he's seen them maybe a handful of times in the past year, but he's never picked them up and seen them or visited with them in at least 2 years. So he's incorrect with that. They don't have a relationship with their dad. They don't want one, but that's beside the point. We're here about school, and I've raised my boys on my own for 16 years and have them enrolled every year. They've been amazing, great, smart boys. Unfortunately, they hit teenage years and they made some poor choices. They have anger issues they're working through, counseling, anger management that they are both going to be attending. Based on all of that and what I know is best for my kids is for them to try this alternative method and do it online. And Nathan can't focus in school. He has ADHD. He can't sit still. He gets very agitated and irritated and lashes out. It's not that I just, up and don't want my kids to go to school, or I don't get them up for school, or they're rebelling. It's not those things. As I am truly trying my best. And I asked Justin for help at the end of last year and even over the summer. And he did come by a couple times to take the boys to school, to get them up and go to school. But like he just said, he can't leave work. We can't do that. He doesn't even have a relationship with them. And it just made things worse, honestly, for the boys. So I feel if we try the online method, because going to school, they've proved that they're not doing it. So I want my kids to have a good education. Like I said, they're smart boys. And the only reason they're not is because Justin is refusing to sign the record release of transcripts for the school. So that's where we're at.
May I, Your Honor?
Sure.
I would first like to point out that neither child is diagnosed with anything. They've never been even evaluated for any ADHD, bipolar disorder, temperamental disorder, anything of that nature. Secondly, I have been involved in my children's life their entire life. I've never missed a beat. I've never missed my visitations up until this last year when I have been denied them. Never. And in fact, you yourself signed an order last year enforcing that, Miss Koon, make the children come to my home. And that did happen for that summer. And at the end of the summer when school started is when it ceased again. So I'm not sure with this. I have no relationship with my children. I've been involved in their lives the day they were born. I have never missed a beat with my children. I know them very well, and they do not have any diagnosis. And even as she claims that she wants them to have education, and I refuse to sign a release of record, I have never been requested to sign a release of record. I did verbally tell them that I would never agree to them going to an online school because they do not participate in school in person. They're not going to do it on their own. So I just feel at this point, she's been given every opportunity over and over and over to get these children to school, because this is not something that's new. This is a 6-year running issue with attendance. It's just finally get to the point where we can get truancy involved. And now truancy has now got charges requested to the prosecutor's office on her because she failed to comply with anything. She doesn't even respond to them. She went to one meeting, said she would do it, and vanished. And they're still not attending school. This motion was filed on October 6th. Then on October 10th, she was served with a document of court. And between October 10th and today, they still have not attended not even one day of school. Not one. There's not been one day of school that she's even called the school to notify them that they wouldn't be there. They're unexcused absence every single day. There's no accountability in her household. I mean, to speak on the character of it, today she tried to have the proceedings canceled for a funeral that is to be held tomorrow. And I have the documentation right here showing the date and times of the funeral. She tried to call this court to have them cancel this hearing just so she can attend the funeral that is tomorrow. She will say, do anything she will to get her way. And the children need to go to school. That's just the bottom line here. It's about them. It's not about me. It's not about her. They need to go to school. And I have 6 other children in my home that have perfect attendance records.
All right. Thank you. The court does find that there has been a change in circumstances. Frankly, the number of absences is uncontested. The issue is uncontested. And there are other issues obviously beginning to surface that are indicative of aspects of the child custody factors that the court has to evaluate that would indicate to this court that there has been a significant and substantial change in circumstances, which means that custody should be reevaluated. Specifically, a parent has an obligation to meet the educational and mental and emotional needs of the children in his or her care. The number of absences being between 24 to 27 and then noted as a historical issue even since last year, does constitute a significant change in circumstances necessary to reopen custody. In a custody case, the court does have the obligation also to have a formal hearing on a custody request change. I have to make the determination as to whether or not there is a custodial environment that's been established with one or the other parent, and that will be determinative as to the level of proof that's applied to that particular hearing. So, as of today, I am making the finding that there has been a substantial change in circumstances and that we're going to have a custody hearing. I have time set available on November 6th at beginning at 2:00 p.m. for the rest of the afternoon for that purpose. I will need to interview the children as a part of that process. I will also be looking at the environment of each parent. So if there's any witnesses or items that you'd like me to look at, you'll need to make sure that the other parent has copies of those prior to the hearing so that the court can determine whether or not it's appropriate to receive those as I evaluate what should be happening with the custody of the children moving forward. Obviously, at 15 and 16, these children are at an age where their opinion on where they should be living does certainly matter, but so does their education. and their mental health. So it will be the order of the court that the parenting time of every other weekend has to continue and should be followed upon penalty of contempt of court. In other words, Ms. Koon, you will need to turn the children over for weekend parenting time to Mr. Justin Nash. And we're going to do every weekend between now and when we come back for the November 6th custody hearing, from Friday after school till Monday when school resumes. And you will also be required to have an appointment set for each of the boys for purposes of mental health evaluation. And if you don't already have a provider, then I will look for you to have made an appointment for them at the Adrian Counseling and Psychiatric Clinic for a psychiatric evaluation. And they will be required to go to school. And if they don't go to school between now and when we come back November 6th, number one, that's going to impact obviously the outcome of the custody trial. And number two, whether or not I have to hold you in contempt for failure to follow the court order.
One thing, Your Honor, November 6th, I do have a pretrial conference, I believe at 3:30. And another matter, a divorce.
Okay.
It's been a couple of years ago.
Are you available on the 7th?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Ms. Koon, are you available on the 7th?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
It's been 3 years since they've been to their fathers, and at least 2 years since they've had an overnight. I want to just put them back in that environment. It's been 2 years.
Koon, Ms. Koon, that's not a question. I have made my ruling. You will make sure those boys go see their dad every weekend until this custody trial happens, and you will make sure that they're in school, and you will make sure that they have an evaluation that is ready for me to look at on November 7th at 1:30. And if not, you will have to explain why I should not hold you in contempt of court for violating my order that I will issue today, and you will face up to 93 days in jail. Do you have any questions?
No, ma'am.
Very good. We'll see you then November 7th at
Yes,
1:30 p.m. That's all for today.